Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, which is brought to you by Wellness Forum Health, the Wellness Forum Institute, and Make Americans Free Again. First of all, this coming weekend, is the Research Boot Camp. I only do this once a year, almost every year, and sometimes I skip, but almost once a year. And it is a Friday night, Saturday afternoon condensed version of a very long and expensive course that I teach for health professionals. That includes a lot of homework in between classes and that sort of thing. So for people who are saying, listen, I don't want to do all that, but I really do think I would like to know more about how to find out the truth about things, how to track down whether a supplement's a good idea, bad idea, how do you figure out side effects and that sort of thing. This is for you. So it's delivered via Zoom. We will record it because no matter when I schedule it, we're going to have people who can't attend because of time zones and that sort of thing. And by the end of this boot camp, you will be able to sort fact from fiction, and you're going to feel much more confident about the decisions that you make on everything from supplements to vaccines because you'll know how to check it out. So it's time to sign up because it's this Friday, this Saturday. The virtual 6 class yoga series starts next week. That's the next thing that's on the agenda. 6 class series with certified health educator Heidi Plum. And again, we'll record those sessions so that you can watch them later. We'll record them for a platform for those who participate. And it's $149 per person, which is really great for 6 90-minute classes. All right, so let's get into the news, and I have a couple of news items to share with you that are very related to one another. And let's start with this. It's summertime. It's a great time to be outside and to take advantage of the healing powers of the sun. Some of us look forward to this time of year. I'm one of them. The sun feels great on our skin, and we all look better with a little bit of color. Yet dermatologists and other doctors caution people that the sun is dangerous, that tanning is dangerous, and you must use sunscreen anytime you're going to be outside and be exposed to sun. Furthermore, people are advised to see doctors regularly to be checked for early stage skin cancer. The medical profession has successfully villainized sunlight, and you can see evidence of this right now with all the pale people walking around in July who are dutifully avoiding the sun as they've been told to do. Last year, I presented a comprehensive workshop called The Great Skin Cancer Hoax, which included dozens and dozens of supporting citations. And we discussed a lot of things in that workshop, like the dermatology profession, which boasts the highest income of all medical specialties right now. And they make their money conducting constant surveillance, looking for skin cancer, further scaring people from getting into the sun. And since that time, more and more and more research shows that the prevailing wisdom about the sun is wrong. So, one of my colleagues sent me a link to a study, July 2025, very recent this month, which shows that sunlight passes through the human body and has a systemic impact on health, impacting many functions, including vision. The researchers reported that sunlight improves mitochondrial function and ATP production in ways that can improve everything, including mobility, visual function, and cognition, and influence the aging process. They write, taken together, these data provide evidence of the importance of the full spectrum of sunlight for human health. They also highlight the potential dangers of the restricted spectra found in white LED lighting in the modern built environment. In other words, not only are we getting not enough sun, but we're staying inside with artificial light that's actually damaging to health, a lot of which could be undone by getting outside and laying in the sun and swimming and getting a tan in the summertime. The best way to address this is to get out in the sun. And of course, everybody agrees that burning is a bad idea. So, but that's not what we're talking about here. Your body will produce, in response to sunlight, tens of thousands of photoproducts, including nitric oxide, which helps to open up the blood vessels and facilitates blood flow, and vitamin D. So, for anybody who's interested, we recorded that workshop, The Great Skin Cancer Hoax, and those of you who are members can use your membership and Smoothie Points to access that online course if you'd like to take it. Which brings me to another thing. Speaking of courses, the next big free event is next week. It's the Mastery Course for Health Professionals. I only do this once a year. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week from 8 p.m. to 11, 9 hours of free education. And we'll record it, of course. And I'm taking questions in advance. I will also take questions during the boot camp, but I'm taking questions in advance so I can organize the curricula around what people want to learn. So this is for everybody from the person who's thinking about being in the health professions, being a health coach or a nutritionist or a food over medicine instructor, or on up to doctors. Everybody who's interested in helping others with health is welcome to join us. So send me an email at pampopper@wellnessforum.com, and I would be happy to help you with all of that. Get signed up for it and get your questions and all that sort of thing. So next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, don't miss it. All right, so I want to return to the misguided evidence regarding sunlight and tanning. How did doctors get to the place where so much of what they tell us is so misguided? Well, I'm a history buff and a medical history buff, and it's by the way, I think medical history is just as interesting as studying the history of wars and world events and that sort of thing. And it certainly sheds a lot of light on what goes on today, trying to make sense out of today's medical system, which is so messed up. Well, as far as I can determine, this started about 25 years ago. The Institute of Medicine issued a report that was called the Crossing the Quality Chasm, which recommended that there be more standardization in healthcare to improve the quality of healthcare delivered. Now, on the surface, this sounds like a great idea. It's like a lot of things that sound like a great idea, but then when you start digging into them, they turn out not to be, and this was one of them. So identifying best practices and that sort of thing, it's always a great idea until it's not. So in response to this report, people took heed. They said, okay, we should have more standardization. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, started developing guidelines for everything from supplements to what to do for cardiac care. And then those got tied to performance evaluations, and performance evaluations are tied to reimbursement. So you can already see we're standardizing everything and then we're making it the thing to do, and you don't get money if you don't do it. It didn't take long for medical education to start changing in response because medical education is supposed to prepare doctors for the medical environment they'll be working on or in, right? According to a 2019 study, over 70% of medical school curricula today involves teaching standard protocols instead of how to use clinical judgment. For example, when residents are seeing a patient in the hospital, they're asked to recite the standard protocol for the disease that the patient is in the hospital for, rather than asking them to make recommendations based on the particular patient in the bed and the medical history and that sort of thing. So the best way to explain it, I think, and you're probably already figuring this out, we're trying to teach doctors how to repair human beings like mechanics repair cars. The obvious problem is that human beings are not like cars. Every patient is different with different combinations of problems and states of health and risk tolerance, and there's so many factors. And you can probably think of your own situation and situations where you've been sick or a family member has been when you went against the grain of the standard protocol because you knew it wasn't right for you. Well, reimbursement has made all of this worse. Institutions are rewarded for both predictability and compliance with guidelines, exactly the opposite of what is good for patients much of the time. Acting in the best interest of the patient, on the other hand, can end up resulting in a financial penalty. So back to medical school, a report shows that the medical schools actually receive funding based on protocol adherence, and even faculty are rewarded for this. The result is not surprising. I mean, if you add all of this up, what happens is we're taking really smart people who I think most of them have good intentions when they enter medicine. I think they want to help people, and we're turning them into automatons who follow instructions and protocols. And recommending or doing something that's outside of the box is not seen as innovation, but it's rather perceived as error or failure to follow instructions, like form of insubordination. Well, The results, you've probably experienced some of them. They're terrible. A 2020 study showed that doctors follow instructions even when they know that the instructions are clearly wrong. And this is what led to disasters like the opioid epidemic. The influence of drug companies like Purdue Pharma resulted in liberal prescribing guidelines for opiate drugs, and doctors who refused to go along with it risked discipline by medical boards. So they prescribed away, and we see what happened. And of course, we saw this during COVID. People in the healthcare professions who did ludicrous things that made no sense to anybody, including non-medical people who could just know by watching this can't be right. And then others were punished for stepping outside of the box and saying, I'm going to do what I think is right for patients. So every week I get emails from people saying something to this effect. I just came from a visit at a doctor's office or whatever, and I just can't, I mean, I know better. This is just ridiculously wrong what this person has suggested to me. And it's one of the leading reasons why people join Wellness Forum. They need to know more than their doctors and healthcare practitioners in order to avoid harm. So I personally think that the system is beyond reform at this time. We need a new one. That's what my upcoming book is all about, the book that Heidi and I wrote. We need health professionals who are retrained and consumers who are informed to meet in an office and have a different kind of discussion that leads to a different kind of outcome. So I'm asking you to help us build it. And to that point, somebody asked me over the weekend to describe what we do and what I'm doing and what I want to accomplish. And this is how I responded. It might give you an idea of how all the various things that Wellness Forum and our nonprofit are involved in, how they all come together into a big, beautiful movement, if you can kind of see it that way. I said that we've started and are building the largest consumer movement in the United States toward health and away from today's medical system. Our nonprofit will finish dismantling the existing system with lawsuits on behalf of harmed people. And you and I will build the new one together based on what people want, which is real health. So join Wellness Forum, support our efforts. Join Make Americans Free Again, support our efforts. The only way this gets better is if we make it better. And I think we have the best system for building something to make it better. For those of you who are members, just in a couple of weeks, you will get to participate in Diana Duganitz's workshop on heart-focused breathing. She's also a heart math instructor. Fabulous lady. I've known her for the last 5 years. COVID brought a lot of wonderful people together, and she's one of those wonderful people who came into my life. And then in August, for members, you can't buy this workshop. You have to be a member to join, and memberships start at $99. No reason not to join. In August, rather, we're going to talk about autism. So just some basics and clearing up some misunderstandings, some helpful tools for patients who are facing this with family members, that sort of thing. So lots going on at Wellness Forum. We have a free boot camp for health professionals next week. We have a workshop on research this weekend that everybody can take. We have wonderful member workshops coming up, and just lots going on in our world. And don't forget our wonderful fruit and nut crunch bars. We're making them as fast as we can, but people sure do love those things. They're ordering their second order of them. I sure do love them. They are so much better to take on a trip. I was in San Diego over the weekend, much better than airport food to have on hand when you're sitting in between flights. So don't forget those. And also don't forget that if you order 1 month or more of smoothie ingredients, you get a free tea worth $34, free green tea worth $34. We really want to get people using that smoothie every day. It's one of the things that I think has kept me healthy at my as I age. I feel a whole lot younger than I am, and I have the energy of somebody a third my age, and I credit that smoothie along with a whole lot of other things that I do right for my current state of health. All right, that's it for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news. Thank you so much for watching.